Sometimes I feel like I'm falling behind. Everyone around me seems to have it all figured out. I'm just stumbling, trying to find my way in this world that moves so fast. I'm feeling left out. Say you gotta have it all, make your mark, but I'm just a dreamer with a restless heart. I may not have all the answers or the perfect plan, but I'm gonna keep on going, gotta make my stand. I am unstoppable, I won't be held down. I'll find my place in this world, turn it all around. I won't let doubt or fear control my destiny. I'll rise above the limits, yeah. I'll set myself free. Say you gotta have it all, make your mark, but I'm just a dreamer with a restless heart. I may not have all the answers or the perfect plan, but I'm gonna keep on going, gotta make my stand. I am unstoppable, I won't be held down. I'll find my place in this world, turn it all around. I won't let doubt or fear control my destiny. I'll rise above the limits, yeah. I'll set myself free. It's a journey unknown, but I'm carving my own way. Oh, oh, oh. In a world of chaos, I'll define my own day. I'll chase the dreams that live within. I am unstoppable, blazing my own trail, following the rhythm of my heart's untold tale. Through the darkest nights, I'll shine my own light, shattering the darkness that beam into the brightness. I am unstoppable, blazing my own trail, following the rhythm of my heart's untold tale. Through the darkest nights, I'll shine my own light, shattering the darkness that beam into the brightness.
Our second full day at Kommetjie or Imhof Caravan Park was spent driving down to Simonstown. We took the M65 and drove past Slankop Lighthouse, on an iconic sighting in Kommetjie. Then a beautiful white beach called Witstrand, close to the Oceana Lighthouse. It is a breathtaking journey down this coastline with many viewing points along the way. Two settlements stood out. They were Mystic Cliffs and the bigger Scarborough. turned inland towards another settlement called Red Hill, from where the Greater Simonstown can be viewed. The M65 then passes a farm stall and an ostrich farm before the entrance gate to Cape Point National Park. The M4 then took us up another stunning coastal drive. Miller's Point is a beautiful spot on this road. There are picnic spots and a clean tidal pool. The bird life is incredible. Rocklands Farm is a hidden gem that we accidentally found on Google Maps. It lies on the slopes of the mountains at sundown. There are fresh produce to buy and goats, sheep and chicken, but the best things are the view and the banana bread. This is the Barefoot Cafe at Rocklands Farm in Sundown. The little restaurant's name is Barefoot Cafe, and the people working there are absolutely stunning. Another place that was offered by Google Maps was the Assegaai Submarine Museum. This was an amazing experience to walk through this historical submarine with a guide that actually worked on it as a submariner.
morning. This is the aft section of the submarine Galatei. Unfortunately, it was involved in a very tragic accident in 1970 when she was leaving harbour and Maria was going into harbour. They met right here. This is the propeller shaft, and that was twisted. They flooded through there. That section, there was one man knocked unconscious, he died. The next two people died from asphyxiation, or the captain managed to get the submarine onto the beach and they were able to salvage it. All of the crew inside the boat passed out from lack of air, but the helmsman forgot to shut the voice pipe and the boat slowly equalized because the officer of the watch had shut the upper hatch, so that's why the boat had a depression in. And they then able to get it. But 6 people were lost. So we keep it in honor of those 6 submariners that lost their lives. Behind here you've got ballast tank number 5, also a ballast tank. They act like a pocket or whatever to when you invert it to give buoyancy to the boat. So when you dive, the submarine doesn't sink. It doesn't sink. If it sinks, that's a big problem. But it gets zero buoyancy. And then you're able to go up and down. And a submarine does something that an aircraft can't do flying. You can stop your motors and it, in theory, will hang there. This is the regulating tanks on the side. That is where water is admitted or pumped from to trim that last little bit of the submarine underwater. Each one holds about 3 tons of water. There are 4 of them to each side. It's a group of 3 and a group of 3, so they might look like 6 there, but they're grouped together. Welcome to the forward accommodation of the SAS Assegaai. This is the home for approximately 33 people. You're going to realize that there's not enough space for that, even if you've got alternative bunker, etc. But remember, the submarine runs 24 hours a day, so you run a 3-watch system, and that way you're with 22 people and using the extra bunks on top, you're able to get the full crew or the people that are stationed in this compartment to use the bunks. Might be curious as to why we made the door so small. The simple thing, that's the size of the doors going through the boat. That way, if you can't make it through that door, you're not going to make it through It was done deliberately by the project engineer, but that was, I mean, you didn't want to get halfway and people get stuck. So it was done with deliberate intent. Right, this is also the forwarded torpedo space. There are 8 torpedo tubes. The torpedoes come through that hatch. You've got 2 strongbacks. The strongback strengthen that area there because the strength of a submarine lies in the shape. The more you squeeze it, the more you need that round shape. You've got a ladder that comes down. Lying on top of that is a safety stretcher. The torpedoes can be an option of homing. Well, they are homing torpedoes, but the one is an active homing torpedo, anti-submarine, and the other are passive homing torpedoes. For conventional vessels. Each torpedo weighs roughly, the long torpedoes were 1.5 tons and 900 kilograms for a short torpedo, which only could be fitted in the aft tubes, not up forward. These had doubled the battery capacity, so in theory their range was 10,000 meters, but that was manufacturer's guarantee. 100% captain's cabin, almost to himself. But you'll notice there's a second curtain here. That's about the limit of his privacy because the basin in there for washing of teeth and that by the other officers was for his use. But the captain didn't really sleep. They were very good, but they didn't sleep. There was always one eye open. Right in the corner there's going to be fairly difficult for you to see, but the cardinal instruments from the rest of the boat, speed, depth, all that is repeated there. The captain didn't even have to get up. He could just open one eye and he'd be able to see the information. Round the corner here, we've got 3 bunks in there. You can just indicate so that other people can see.
1, 2, 3.
Yes, 1, 2, there you got the message. Now, those were for the senior officers, the first lieutenant, the engineer, and the navigator.
That top one's very
So they didn't rotate their bunks. The engineer slept on the bottom bunk, the navigator on the top bunk, and the first lieutenant in the middle. Underneath where we're standing at the moment is the battery compartment, forward battery compartment. There are 160 cells on board the submarine, each one approximately half a meter, third of a meter, and chest high, weigh half a ton. They're basically a super version of a car battery, except that's only 2 volt. This cupboard was modified to become, and may I just ask the 2 of you to step forward to Nestled. Sorry. This becomes an operating table. And we did carry out life-saving operations on a boat on odd occasions. There's 2 bunks there. They fold up. There again, you could say, well, there's 2. What about the other officers? Well, when there's mealtime, they got hoofed out anyway. Whether you're hungry or not, you stand up so the other officers can eat here. Because if all of the officers got out, the captain, first lieutenant, then it was very difficult to try and get through, because over here jackets were stored. You could stay dived for maybe 6 to 8 hours. By then you were having to charge the air system using air filters, and also replacing the oxygen in the atmosphere of the boat. Then, behind here, the latest mod cons. This goes down, and there's a TV set behind here. More BRs. These BRs, Brooks Reference, were very handy because those were books being consulted on a daily, constant utilization. Over there's a picture. That's all. That was done for an exercise for the surface vessels to be able to see what masts the submarine had. Periscope, search periscope. And the radio corner in here, again, a totally South African designed and manufactured radio system. Right, this is the control center. The French opted for a solution where the ops room was the brain of the submarine, and that's where the external navigation was managed from. This compartment was delegated to a control center supervisor, and the internal situation of the submarine was managed here. The trimming of the boat, the list of the boat, funnily enough, because if you fill the rig tanks on that side, the boats will lean that way, so you want to get it, and there's the hydraulic, later on power operated, lifted up, and the snort masters above there. You can take fresh air in from outside into the boat. It gets circulated through the boat to get fresh air into all compartments, but also the majority went straight through into the propulsion compartment where 2 diesels would be running. If you're at periscope depth, you could run them down to about depth of about 13 meters, and you could charge your batteries from there. Deeper than that, with the technology we had to stop the motors and do that. More modern submarines have got air-independent propulsion, and they now can get up to 3 weeks without recharging their batteries. Below us is the auxiliary compartment. Down below there are all the valves and systems to form the auxiliary services for the boat. HB air, low pressure air, hydraulic oil, gyro compass was one underneath this table here, and that. These again were South African modifications, although they were bought in equipment. In that corner was the helmsman's seat. The helmsman sits facing forward in this type of submarine, and you control the 2 motors. You'll see those red knobs in the center there. Just above that is a silver trumpet that goes up to the bridge. There's a ladder going up to the bridge. That is your normal only access at sea. We've shut that hatch to avoid pigeon droppings coming down, etc. If you needed to explain, you'd pull it over, talk to them, and put it back out of the... Two helmsmen. The aft plainsman is the primary plainsman, learns to operate the submarine. It's like driving a forklift truck. To go up, you go down, and then that drives you up. Various controls for the various systems here. Like I said, it would just take a couple of days to teach you all of those. This handle, you pulled it where there was an urgent dive, and the officer of the watch would get the order from the captain, dive the boat, come to certain depth. As he came through the hatch, you'd see the hatch shut, pull that handle, and it was shut. Then he's got to get down here. It's also quite revenge, but we didn't do that too often. Over here, oxygen meters, CO2 meters, but basically everyone knew the basic elements of any piece of equipment on the boat, and they were questioned and checked in the answers. Everybody. That's why all submariners wear the same badge. Right. You also got oxygen filters through here. It's a thermochemical process whereby you actually burn the chemical, but it produces much more oxygen than it consumes. And over here we have the galley. At the galley you will see, first of all, on the floor is a hatch. That is the storeroom. So that chef has now got to hang like a bat upside down so that the other chef can start getting food out, and I jest you not. There's an oven here, not much bigger than a household oven. There's frying pans, deep fryers, etc. on the side there. Here, unfortunately, which we had to take off and return, was a bread mixer. That we could make bread on board when we were on a long deployment. The sink in the corner there was for the washing of the pans. The relevant messes, there was a messman forward, wardroom steward, and aft messman. They washed the dishes, but those were also training billets. So nobody was a passenger on board. Everybody carried their weight. Over here we have the heads. Isn't it quite curious that they're right opposite the galley? And if there was an incident and there was a problem with the heads there, guess where it landed? And it did. More than one occasion. The heads were quite a novelty system using a siphon principle. You pressed the plunger in, it filled up with water, then gravity feed, and it pulled down. So that was a great improvement on other classes of submarines. Over here, machine gun and rifle stowage. It was a later modification where we also fitted a mounting for the machine gun on the bridge. Oh, This compartment, as I say, was two V8 engines, one on each side. Down below here, a little bit shorter time at the moment, but I could lift and show you that just like big lorry diesels. Black is exhaust valve cutoffs and so on. There's a little door. When the submarine is dived, that door is shut and you just open to go through. That door was so designed that if there was an incident and the boat took a positive trim angle, you'd end up standing on that. Again, in this compartment, as I alluded to earlier on, but now repeating it again, here is the little half door that gets shut to prevent people falling through in the event of a high trim angle. You can hold on with one hand and stop the diesel, whatever the relevant emergency is. Again, mind your head, please. This compartment, we have 16 people living in it. Again, hot bunk system. And there's one extra bunk where we had a watch-keeping coxswain. He slept in here because his watches tied in with the two baby officers in the water. But you can see the remnants of the grinding wheels and that. But also that bulkhead there is the aft, the extreme aft, where the trim tanks 1 and 2 are. 3 and 4 were side by side up for it. You have a look at that little space in there. Remember, there's no mattress in there yet. There's the mattress. You get in there, you can
Careful not to poke your eyes out with those metal things. No.
Over here, we have the concession to diving safety. Those depth gauges were added with as an afterthought. To escape from the submarine, there is a skirt here that comes down. The strings that are tied up there, you can secure them to eye bolts on the floor, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you flood the boat. But now, every second is precious. Literally every second is precious. It was calculated that you might be able to get half the crew out before they asphyxiated in the boat. And that was to a maximum depth of 70 meters. That's out here in the bay. Any deeper than that, you'd be lucky to get one person out. The freshwater tank is down aft. Through the boat, there are 11 freshwater tanks. Red lighting, you sometimes see in the movie where they've got the red goggles on.
We later searched for food and it landed us at the Kaya in Fishhook, a small shop with friendly staff and delicious pizzas. We headed back to Simonstown in search of the penguins. We found them at Southforth Beach. They just came out of the water and nonchalant walked past us, and it was such a special moment.